Lobby groups are important, but more importantly, for the lobby groups to live up to the expectations of the people of Africa, they should derive their mandate from the governments on the African continent.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi Ewafo, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
Yes, we can have individuals with interest, with the passion in lobbying for the removal of sanctions, in lobbying for quite a number of other things. These should derive their mandate from the governments, which are the governments on the African continent, because they need to be heard. I think one of the things that we have seen also in the recent past, especially when it comes to sanctions on Zimbabwe, we have seen quite a number of lobby groups and lobbyists as individuals who have been speaking and researching on sanctions and trying to get to know more and finding them, trying to research on the illegality of the sanctions, the immorality of the sanctions, the injustice of these sanctions, and they seem to have done a great job. And given the information that they have been getting, the Americans, we are beginning to see a bit of softening in them, because there is so much that have been happening from the lobbies, trying to make sure that the sanctions are removed. But I think that also these people that will be lobbying for the removal should derive their mandates. They should be able to speak with the countries that are affected. And when that happens, then they get also the facts, and they can also interact with the governments so that they get to understand the real problems other than what they get through their researches. Yes, people that go out to lobby, they are quite important. May I also take the opportunity to say that I think my battery did not got a lot of We have had the sanctions for the past 2 decades, and I've already mentioned that we must be very thankful to the people of Zimbabwe for their resilience. But the government must be innovative. It must be creative. It must come up with means and ways of making sure that in the midst of these sanctions, we must make people live. And we must thank our government that has realized that we can bust sanctions if we tap into our own resources. Zimbabwe of late has been using its own resources to make sure that they develop the country. A lot of things have been happening. We have started seeing a lot of infrastructural developments taking place. We have managed to mitigate the effects of COVID using the local resources. We are trying to make sure that we provide as much services as is possible in terms of healthcare, education, and so on, using local resources. And the other way in which you can also try to improve the situation is by tapping onto your people that are in the diaspora. The country and the diaspora contingent must have a relationship so that those that are in the diaspora can remit whatever they are getting in the diaspora to their mother country so that it can develop. And we have seen this happening in Zimbabwe, and we are also quite thankful to those that are in the diaspora. We have seen it fit to invest in their country. so that it can develop. We can also work with partners because we still have countries that are friendly to us, like China, like neighboring countries. We need to continue to work with them and use every expertise and the resource that we get for the benefit of the people of Zimbabwe, particularly the ordinary people who have borne the brunt of the sanctions. They need services. They need to get resources in order for them to go out there into the to do their farming. They need employment, the youth, the women, and so on. So the use of local resources and making sure that there is financial prudence on the resources that are being tapped in the country, because Zimbabwe is endowed with so many natural resources. We have rare minerals. We have about 49 minerals that can be mined. We need to make use of them so that we can develop our country. Well, we also need to continue to call America and its allies to remove the sanctions. And we are hoping that with the reports that we are getting from the United Nations rapporteur, who has said it unequivocally that the sanctions have denied the ordinary people to enjoy their human rights and has impacted negatively on the economy of Zimbabwe, we might see a change of heart on the Americans and allow Zimbabwe to trade freely and develop its country. We all what we have been seeking and what we seek is for us to be treated as an equal partner in the global village. We are not asking for freebies. We are asking for the removal of sanctions so that we can trade with anyone, whoever we want on the global village.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.